Hello YouTube. So earlier on today I've done a video with the chromosome that you're looking at now, and I thought I'd do this video. There's not any guitar playing in this video, I'm just talking for this one, just to point out the differences between the chromosome and the VC50 combo, VC100 combo, or the VH100R head. The VC, if you're not familiar with this amp you're looking at now, this is a combo version of the VH100R. They made it in the 90s and they knocked it on the head, I don't know why. It's exactly the same, just with the exception of having two output valves instead of four. And obviously it's a combo, so it's got some shitty HH speakers in there that need changing quick. And okay, so what's the difference between these two amps? Well, the power to start with. The chromosome is 30 watt. It runs Class A 4 EL84s and 6 ECC83s. The VC50 here is running, at the moment, this one you're looking at now is 6L6s, or it could have been EL34s had I changed the bias on it when I last done it, but it's 6L6s. And the VH100R head would be the same, either EL34s or 6L6s. Okay, so one's 30 watt and one's 50 watt here, or 100 watt if you've got the VH100R head. The other couple of difference power-wise, or sorry, only one other difference power-wise, is you've got a switch on the chromosome here for pentode or triode, and the pentode is the full 30 watts. The triode will make the valves less efficient and run it at about 12 watts. So those are the power differences between the chromosome and I just stood on the power adapter for this camera and it's absolutely caned my foot. Okay, so that's the difference. One's 50 watt, one's 30 watt, and with the 30 watt you can cut the power in half. So now let's look at the function. So basically it looks pretty much exactly the same as the VC50 function wise. Okay, so the first difference I'm going to point out is this switch here is the damping switch, and it's got three modes. In the centre I've got no damping, and then obviously if I click it onto one bar, that's 1 bar of damping. I use 2 bars, and what the damping is it's basically the same as what you have on the VC50 or VH100R. Where is it? There, you have a resonant switch which tidies up, and this is actually turned on because when Laney used to do their combos it would be the head version but upside down, so all the switches are backwards. So this is actually on at the moment in that position, and it tightens up the low end and just makes it nicer for riffing and everything. And the same here, so that's what's been done, it's been flicked on full whack. Okay, there's your power and standby, and obviously that's the power and standby on the VC50. So let's go into the channels then. So what you've got here, got to get the camera at the right angle so that you can see there, because a little bit is scratched off. That's the bright switch, that's no different to the VC50. And this whole clean channel is no different. You've got the first volume you've got there on the left is the clean volume. And then these next two knobs is the, you've got a switch there to turn into the drive section of channel 1, or some people call it channel 2, but you've got the volume and the drive there for it. So clean volume, dirty volume, and drive for the dirt. Then you've got a shared EQ for them two, bass, middle, treble, and that, like I said, that's shared for the drive channel and for the clean channel. So nothing complicated there at all. The last two knobs there, one's reverb, you know what that is, and you've got an effects level there, which we're going to talk about in a bit, which is just it filters your effects loop into the preamp so that you can adjust how much of your delay, for example, you feed into your sound. But we'll go into that in a minute. So really simple on the clean channel. On the drive channel, what you have, or channel, you could call it channel 3 because you've got these, obviously you've got 2 up here. But it's more like having a foot switchable drive, so it's more like having channel 1 here, channel 2 here, and both of them having a foot switchable drive. So anyway, this channel, well, you've got drive and volume now, and then you've got gain and volume now. So the foot switchable drive on this amp has its own volume. Now that's the biggest difference when you're using this amplifier between this and the VC50. This is the biggest difference of all, because on the VC50 what you do when you're on your distorted channel, on your high gain channel, you've got, there you go, the camera should be about right so you can see the writing now. You've only got one volume. And what happens is obviously if your drive is turned off, fair enough, you've just got volume and gain and then your EQ, blah, blah, blah. When you switch in the drive on the VC50 or VH100R, you use these two against each other. The drive and the gain are going to antagonise one another. So you shape your sound by moving the two. So if this setting here was a little bit too bassy, I would take out some drive, add more gain, blah, blah, blah. And they work together with, obviously, as you can see, with one volume pot. On the chromosome, if you're on your gain channel, the channel we're pointed at, then obviously there's your gain there, there's your volume. When you switch in the drive on the chromosome, what happens is this gain pot, it's not used anymore. It's turned off now. So what you go is, so you go from this having gain, volume, bass, middle, treble, to these two being turned off and these two being brought in. Drive, volume, bass, middle, treble. So that's the biggest difference. So it's kind of it disables your distortion sound a little bit, because it's nice on the VC to be able to say, well, hang on, this is too bassy here, so I'll take this out and I'll pump in more gain. And you can't do that. Like I say, it turns this off. So it's kind of a disadvantage. But at the same time, it makes the amp more like a 4-channel amp. Obviously, 2 channels there. And because they've got their own volumes, it means you can set one for a light distortion and one for a heavy distortion, switch between the two, and be able to have total control over the volume of this switching. So yeah, that's the biggest difference. These two won't work together anymore. They'll be separate as 2 different channels with a shared EQ. Okay, so those are the differences, and then what we'll do is the effects loops on the back are absolutely identical, but I'm going to go through them anyway, just in case if you don't own any of these amps, you might be interested in learning about the effects loops. But there you go. So they're both roughly made about the same time, and yeah, those are the differences from the front. Let's look at this effects loop then. Okay, so here's the back panel. So kettle lead, HT fuse, 4 ohm, 8 ohm out. So obviously this is 8 ohms at the moment, so that's 2 16 ohm. It comes with some custom HH speakers. You can't see through the grill there. It comes with some custom HH speakers, which are just, oh, they're horrible. So I bought 2 Celestion G10 Vintage for it. So that tidies things up a little bit. There's a line in there for slaving, I think. I'm not that clued up on that. You'll have to excuse me there. Foot switch is a MIDI cable, which is it's not that great because you can't use MIDI with it. It just changes channels. It just shorts things to change channels. It doesn't actually send MIDI signals, so it's a shame. Okay, we'll go back to that level that you can see that knob there in a second. Okay, so let's look at these effects loops. So we've got channel B and channel A there. Ignore the return in the middle for a second. So channel A, so basically the effects knob that you saw on the front panel, if we stick FX into this one, that's going to be channel A, and that effects knob that is on the strip for channel A on the front is going to filter in however much you've got. So if you've got a flanger that hasn't got a level on it, you could put it in here and use the knob on the front to adjust the overall output of that pedal and balance it nicely. And the same with channel B. So that's kind of nice if you've wanted, because the amp's got reverb. What you could, for example, you could put a delay in channel B, bring it in on the front with the effects knob as much as you want that for channel B, and then on channel A you could just feed in a little bit of the delay and use the reverb, for example. Okay, so that's basically how they work. Now if you want to put that as a global loop, then you just use this in the middle here. So you could send out from channel A to your delay, and then rather than coming back into this return, we come back into this return. And then what that does is it just makes it global then. So the 2 effects knobs on the front on each channel strip will be controlling the same effects pedals, and you can filter in like that. Okay. Now I don't use any of that because it's just I don't need it. Okay. So I come to this loop here, and this is just a global loop, and all it is send return. And then what we've got is we've got the bypass, which will obviously turn off all the loops together. You've got your side chain to run the effects alongside, and then you've got the insert here. Now this is the gem with Laney amps. This is what everyone talks about when they're talking about GH heads and VH heads and everything, and they're talking about the master volume on the back of the amp. This is where it is. So I put all my effects into here just because I just like normal effects loops. I can't be asked with all that other business. And then I've set it to insert, and then basically this becomes master volume, which is really handy because you've got so many, as you've seen, there's quite a few volume controls on the front of the amp. So, and bearing in mind this is identical, this back panel, to the VC50. VC50's got 3 volume controls. This one, because of the what I was showing you a second ago with the distortion channel, you've got 4 volume controls. So it really helps to have this master volume here. So I mean, as you can see, I've got it just past quarter of the way. That's plenty good enough for this room. And yeah, I just set the sound and then plonk this about to get exactly what I want. Okay, so that's the back panel of the amp. So let's go back to the front. Okay, so back to the front again. And I've got no idea why I've come back to the front, because I've got absolutely nothing interesting to say whatsoever. So I'm going to finish the video with that. But there you go. I think these are classics now. I don't know whether you can call these classics or not yet. I don't know if they're old enough, but I think they are. Cool. Anyway.